We are back with another episode of What's Brewing, and today I'm sitting down with Ben Pierce for part two of our interview series with him. But before we get into this video, let's roll that beautiful B-roll. Ben, thank you for sitting down again.
Thank you so much for having me back.
When we last talked previously on What's Brewing, we were talking about your photography and getting the shot. One of the things I want to ask is, what do you consider some of your bucket list shots as a photographer? Like, what are things that you want to go and snap a pic of before you go off into the sunset?
Wow. I've actually probably never really thought about a bucket list. Every morning or, planning for a shoot, I'm always trying to improve from what I did the time before and grow as an artist and hopefully inspire more people through my work. So I guess every single time I'm going out, I'm hoping for that next great image.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, when it comes down to it, kind of being the sentimental guy, like the photos of my kids growing up, those are the ones that, just making sure I have that captured for, my own heart and my family, so that way they have something special. So those are the ones I really love.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I'm going to cherish forever. The landscape shots and the wildlife shots, those are things that I think are more for me to be able to share what I love so much about Louisiana and to kind of share that beauty for other people who maybe have never been here before.
Now, how did you get into being really a landscape photographer, a wildlife photographer? Why did you head into that niche to begin with? Why not portrait photography or other types?
I mean, I think that's pretty easy. I think any landscape photographer will know that trees don't have bad sides or don't tell you or complain about stuff. They don't have deadlines about when you get, the proofs back to them.
That's true.
There's not hair that's fallen, in front of the face of a tree that you have to, clone stamp out later down the line. So it's a maybe the lack of hassle, I would say, that sometimes comes with portrait photography.
Because you can have a moody picture with wildlife and a moody picture, but that mood unfortunately doesn't give you sassy emails, right? It's a good mood.
Exactly. Yeah.
People can be a little fussy.
And I love portrait photography. Don't get me wrong, because it's showing emotion in the soul of that person. But landscape photography, I can do it at any point.
Yep.
I don't have to necessarily worry about somebody else's timeline or mine as well. I can just go out there and say, hey, look, conditions seem good, and I'm going to go and enjoy a morning or an evening.
And we've seen you on a couple occasions. I think one of the first times we saw you, finding you is almost like finding Bigfoot, because we know you're everywhere, but also elusive. We ran into you one time, I think, in the basin. This is when the water was extremely low.
Yeah.
And I'm actually curious, because my understanding is that you found a drone that crashed. Tell that story.
Yes. So back in 2018, we were flying a drone, getting some footage for a dinner cruise that we used through one of our company's McGee's Swamp Tours. So we had it flying outside of one of our swamp tour boats that we had set up for dinner. I don't know, I've been flying a drone for a long time, but something went weird, started flashing red, and that sucker hit a tree and fell right into the swamp. At the time, the water was about 8 feet deep, and it was February. So as far as I was concerned, it was gone. And I tried to go back. I knew the tree. I've got my trees memorized because that's kind of the nerdy landscape guy that I am. I know all the trees. They all have personalities. And so I knew what tree that was, and I was wanting to go back as soon as the water would get low enough, but it just never happened. So there was a mission that day, was to go out there and find that drone. And it was a half-mile hike. We went right to it and just buried in the mud with just about an inch of the underside of it sticking up.
Wow.
There it was. But the best part of the whole thing was, the drone obviously was shot.
Yeah.
Everything had rusted through, all the motherboard, everything. But the SD card still worked.
Wow.
So I had images on there from the summer before that I'd never taken off because I was lazy and whatever. And so I was like, man, those were lost in that shoot. And so I was kind of bummed about it. But 5 years later or whatever it was, you got to move on. And I found it and it worked, so I was able to pull those images off. So that's pretty cool.
Crazy,
so,
right?
Big shout out to SanDisk for having a heck of a project.
Yeah, exactly, right. That's not sponsored, but they've got amazing SD cards. Obviously, I think that's just amazing. You almost feel like it's like one of these things, like it's just a lost cause. And when I heard that story, my wife is actually the one who told me, and I think she had saw it on social media. And I was like, shut the front door. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I've not lost a drone yet. Knock on something. But like my biggest fear, especially when you're on water, is like it's going to take a plunge.
Yeah.
And I've had some close calls, but that's just an amazing story.
And that's the second one I lost in the water, though. So I had lost another one. Luckily, we were able to dive in and save that one. It was, beeping SOS.
Yeah.
And what you do, or at least, the myth is you put your phone in rice whenever it gets
Yeah.
wet. Well, what do you do with a drone? It's so big. Well, I had to find a big old pot and fill it with rice. I found 10 pounds of rice, put the drone in there. So I made drone Balaya that in order to save the drone. And that drone worked 36, 48 hours later. So,
Well, when you
yeah.
expand your brand into other markets and you want to partner with the food, I'm just going to throw that out on the internet. Drone Balaya,
Drone
you heard it
Balaya.
here first,
Yeah.
especially by Ben Pierce. Man, it was so good to sit down. I'd like to do a third interview if that's okay. Are you willing to do that?
You want to have me back for a third
A
time?
third one.
That sounds great. Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Listen, thank y'all for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed this. Obviously, we're getting to hear really fun stories from Ben and lots of other folks in this series. If you like this content, you want to see more of it, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button, crush the subscribe button, ring the notification bell to stay up to date with everything we're producing. As always, we hope you're doing well. We hope you're staying safe. We'll see you in the next one.